actually my initial impression was that of insensitivity on the part of whoever is desirous and planning to expand the port in the direction of the Shark Island, particularly into the areas where the remains of our ancestors, the remains of the those who were interned on the island still remain there. My initial impression was that it was going to be a deliberate desecration of that holy place, of those graves, of those remains. It's actually disrespectful. It is preferring economic gains over history, over our heritage, particularly when we are not settled as far as the issue of reparations are concerned. So those are my first impressions. We can take it up from there onwards.
Indeed, and now we see that there are many calls for the government to halt the planned extension of that port on the peninsula, of course, following the discovery, as you mentioned, of those unmarked graves, artifacts linked to the genocide. But on the flip side, we also have the Shark Island itself, taking being in the process of moving from NWR now to the National Heritage Council. There were many concerns at first that NWR is simply using this as a commercial site, and it's insensitive to use a commercial or to use a place like Shark Island, a property like Shark Island, that has so much history to it as a commercial site, and now it's being handed over to the National Heritage Council. What are your thoughts on that?
You see, they say there are about 8 or 9 stages of genocide, starting with pretext and so on and so on. But the last stage of genocide is denial. And denial encompasses issues such as desecrating of graves, doing away with evidence, pretenses, etc., etc. Now, for anybody or any institution to use in this particular moment, and in this particular case, the Shark Island as a resort for tourism, for recreation, is part of denial.
Honorable Maamberua?
A veneer. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Is to put a veneer on the horrible and terrible events that took place. It's actually to try to erase history. Therefore, it is actually not in the interest of nation building and in the interest of the struggle that we have for reparations, where evidence has got to be preserved if we are to be successful. And that's, I don't see why any institution should want to attempt to hide such information and such evidence at that very regrettable place. In fact, the island was called the Death Island. It is not just a concentration camp. It's actually a death island, as it was known during these days, because of the horrible events that took place there.
The time on the clock is now 8:33. We're on conversation with Usutuaihe Maamberua. He is, of course, a genocide reparations lobbyist and former parliamentarian. We while just speaking on this issue of the Namibian authorities facing calls to halt the planned extension of a port on the Shark Island Peninsula following the discovery of unmarked graves and artifacts linked to the Herero and Nama genocide. Honorable, I'm not sure if you saw the front page of the Namibian newspaper, but now we have seen members of parliament come out and say that if this is the case, if government wants to extend, the port there, they should compensate families with graves at Shark Island, where that proposed hydrogen project is being planned.
I've seen it. I did not read the article, but I saw the heading, and I'm totally disappointed in that suggestion. We are not at the stage where government has got to compensate those who perished on Shark Island, because we have not done any research yet. We don't know who actually died on Shark Island. We don't know how many people died on Shark Island. So what is it that we are going to compensate for? To whom? We have not done any DNA on those remains to actually link them to the existing relatives at the moment. That has not been done. No research has been done as far as the events of those horrible events of Shark Island. So for us to start talking about families must be compensated, I think it's too premature and it's not acceptable at the moment. And in fact, there is no rationale for that. That area must be preserved for posterity, basically forever. We should never, ever try to tamper with it in the way of expanding a port, in the way of doing away with that evidence. Never, ever. That is my position.
So is this to say that no form of development can happen at and around the area, even if it is, for the betterment of the country?
We've got options. We've got alternatives. The port can expand in the interest of the oil exports and the green hydrogen, but the expansion of the port can go northwards, where the island is not located. There is also another alternative, dredging the port to make it deeper for purposes of accommodating bigger vessels and so on. Why timber with the direction, with the area where the Shark Island is located? The revenue from the oil industry and the green hydrogen is so mammoth, so big, so huge, that actually they can afford to even develop another port next to Lutherets. There is no reason or any rationale or any justification why the expansion should actually timber with a place, Shark Island, given all the reasons that we have just cited and many other reasons. We are not done yet with our case against Germany. We have not settled any reparations with Germany. And we are not there to erase history. We have to preserve our history. We have to preserve that evidence for posterity, for the generations to come. And we have to give the deserved respect to those who have perished on that island, on that death island, as it was known.
838
so no justification for expansion in that direction at all. There are other alternatives, as I've just enumerated.
8:38 is the time on the clock. We are in conversation with Usutuaihe Maamberua this morning. We are speaking on, what most Namibians essentially aren't too happy about is the extension of a port on the Shark Island Peninsula. You mentioned that compensation won't even make sense because we don't even know who's there yet. We haven't done that research. Or do you know of anyone, perhaps you, perhaps other lobbyists that are taking that task upon themselves to speak to certain families that might be related to those that whose remains are there in Shark Island?
No, it's not a question of speaking to families. It's a question of doing proper DNA first. It's a question of budgeting for that huge task, and that is a national obligation. The money must come from the public purse. It has to be a national project in order to discover all those hidden information and, as you say, the artifacts, the remains, and everything. So it's a project that will take years and a lot of money. So it is not for individuals to start talking to each other to ask whether you had a family that died there or something like that and so on. That will not achieve the objective. And that is actually going to be disingenuous to proceed in that direction. The state must take its responsibility. That is a state responsibility and not a responsibility of individuals.
Just before we do
the individuals can provide some information given a proper designed and planned program and project to discover and uncover whatever is hidden there.
Just before we do let you go, on Maamberua, what are your thoughts, especially now with these new developments, on government's general stance on the issue of the genocide? I mean, there's obviously an unsettling unhappiness, regarding the issue of the negotiations, but now there's urge to expand the port. Some are saying that government is just inconsiderate and doesn't really care when it comes to anything regarding the genocide. Are those your thoughts as well?
Indeed, government is inconsidering. Government has not taken the issue of genocide seriously. I had tabled a motion on the 26th of April 2016 for a genocide remembrance day to be enacted in Namibia. At least that Namibia can say Namibia recognizes that genocide has taken place in Namibia. But up to now, as I'm speaking now, nothing has happened. Namibia officially has not recognized that genocide has taken place in Namibia. And now, to add, to make it actually still worse, the government is tolerating the expansion of the port into Shark Island, desecrating graves, disrespecting the remains of our ancestors, that holy place, and the pathetic outcome of the joint declaration between Germany and Namibia. Those are all sum up of evidence indicating that Namibia, or the state, or the government rather, is actually not serious and disinterested in a final and respectful resolution of the issue of genocide in Namibia. Recently, the Namibian government has joined South Africa in condemning the genocide taking place in Gaza by Israel. But domestically, the government has not been that serious with regard to its own, the very first genocide of the 20th century within Namibia. What an irony.
Honorable Maamberua, for your time this morning, we thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Usutuaihe Maamberua, not a happy man with the talks of a possible extension to the port of, or the peninsula that's there at Shark Island. We are going to continue this conversation. Sima Luipert joins us on the line this morning. She's a fourth-generation survivor of the Nama and Ovaherero genocide, as well as the advisor to the Nama Traditional Leaders Association. We're speaking on the very same issue we just spoke to Honorable Usutuaihe Maamberua about. Sima, to you, a very good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
We're doing well. Hope you're doing well this morning as well. Just to quickly make the most of the time that we have this morning, your initial thoughts when you heard about that possible planned extension of a port on the Shark Island Peninsula?
Yes, it's very unfortunate. Because already the infrastructure that is there already has compromised the integrity and the sanctity of what is practically a graveyard. It's known that human remains have been found in and around the port in the past when it was built in the first place. So further expansion will only mean further desecration and an erasure of the memory of immense pain and suffering and exploitation that has taken place at Shark Island.
There's this suggestion, though, I'm not sure if you saw the front page of the Namibian newspaper, that if that is the case, if government does want to go ahead with this, they must compensate families that have, their family members buried, at Shark Island. These came from members of parliament, that suggestion. What are your thoughts on that?
For me, compensation is not even an option. For me, touching the island is not even an option. That would be like selling your soul. That would be touching the souls of ancestors, and the souls of ancestors are not for sale. I mean, we shouldn't even think about touching that island. It is already so awful that the NWR is using the site as an income-generating site for tourism, for people to wine and dine on top of a grave. It is shameful of Namibia to do such a thing. So it's just unthinkable.
NWR is now in the process of handing over that Shark Island to the National Heritage Council. Is that something that might please you?
Absolutely. That is long overdue, and that is because we have been putting a lot of pressure that this is a heritage. It is a heritage for Namibia, and therefore, because it was declared a heritage site, it should have been handed over immediately to the National Heritage Council, and the National Heritage Council equally has an obligation to start discussions with the Nama leaders and the Ovaherero leaders, the Damara leaders, and so on, to look at a co-management type of arrangement that will make sure that the integrity and the sanctity of the site is always maintained.
We are in conversation this morning with Sima Luipert. We are speaking on that issue of the Namibian authorities, planning to extend planning an extension of a port on the Shark Island Peninsula. Many have come out and say that they must halt this call, that they must put this call on hold. I was speaking to Honorable Usutuaihe Maamberua earlier, Sima, and he says that there are other ways to add development and add value to the country if they want to use areas similar to Shark Island. The question I asked him before that was, should any planned development, if it is in the benefit of Namibians, be halted if it is in and around the areas of Shark Island?
Shark Island, the heritage value of Shark Island exceeds any economic value. Life is not just about money. It's about integrity. It's about being in touch with yourself as a human being. So nothing that brings economic value to Namibia can ever be done on Shark Island. It's how do you go to a place like Auschwitz, where such a horror has taken place, and then you build a mall or something that is brought economic value to a country. How do you do that on top of Auschwitz? It's unthinkable. So the NAMPORT has a responsibility, a moral responsibility, a political responsibility, an economic responsibility to look at alternative sites, because the value of Shark Island, it is heritage value, and that cannot be calculated. It's immeasurable.
Sima, just before we do let you go, what are your thoughts on the developing stance of government on the issue of the genocide? If we just look at, where the negotiations have taken the country to this new proposed development, Usutuaihe Maamberua was saying that government is just, they're insensitive, they don't care about anything when it comes to the genocide. What are your thoughts on that?
I must say I don't know at the moment what direction government wants to take, because they've been quiet for a long time, apart from the president having said that, he has appointed Netumbo Ndaitwa to further take the discussions. But anything will not be, we will not reach any solution unless we respect the participation rights of the Nama and Ovaherero people, unless Germany truly, without any, conditions, acknowledges that it did commit genocide, because right now Germany has not acknowledged genocide. It has justified genocide. Every time it says from today's perspective, it means, so what was it at the time that it took place? If it is only genocide from today's perspective, then at the time that it took place, it was not genocide, because the Nama and the Ovaherero people were considered savages and therefore could be killed. That is the position of Germany at the moment. As long as Germany does not change that position, then we haven't reached any conclusion at all.
Sima, for your time this morning, we do thank you so much.
Thank you.